Hello, I'm Ryan Costa, Deputy Director of the Consumer Protection Unit at the Delaware Department of Justice. Thank you for joining us for this presentation, which is being hosted by the Delaware Department of Justice for National Consumer Protection Week. During this presentation, our panelists will be discussing common imposter scams and how to avoid them. Our first speaker today, Kimberly Wharton, is the Communications Director for AARP Delaware. During her 14 years with AARP, she has led numerous campaigns to expand awareness of the AARP brand and advocate for issues that made life better for Delawareans. Her background includes public affairs and governmental relations throughout the greater Philadelphia region. Next, our second speaker will be Matt Baxter. Matt is Social Security's public affairs specialist for Delaware, as well as the Eastern Shore of Maryland and Virginia. Matt has worked for Social Security for 14 years. And since 2014, he has coordinated the agency's outreach efforts throughout his territory. Prior to serving in his current capacity, Matt spent 7 years as a claims specialist in the Wilmington, Delaware field office, during which time he received the Commission Citation Agency's most prestigious employee award. And then finally, we have Jon Bell. Jon Bell has served as the Director of the Business Relations at Better Business Bureau, serving Delaware for over 10 years. And he is responsible for communications, education, and outreach in that position. He can frequently be found doing fraud prevention workshops, cybersecurity education, and public outreach throughout the state of Delaware. With that, Kim, I'll turn it over to you.
Oh, thank you, Ryan, and thank you to the Attorney General's Office for thinking of AARP for this important panel on this very important topic. Preventing fraud is very important to AARP's 189,000 members in Delaware. In fact, a recent member survey revealed that about 74% of our members in Delaware renewed their AARP membership because of our consumer fraud efforts. So we think it's very important to address this topic, and thank you again. We gain valuable information about scams nationwide through the AARP Fraud Watch Network helpline and the AARP Fraud Watch Network online community that we host. We alert our members and their friends all the time about scams that are happening right in their area, and so they can better protect themselves simply by knowing about that scam that's happening around them. Here in Delaware, we know that our state ranks 7th nationwide for reports of identity theft. That's really a high number for such a small state. I think you would agree. Delawareans experienced nearly $6 million in fraud losses in 2020. That's from the Consumer Sentinel. That's the newest number that we have. Identity theft, imposter scams, telephone and mobile scams all have targeted Delawareans in very large numbers. So there's some timely scams that I thought it might be good for you to just be aware of. There's vaccine scams that we've heard about this all over the country, and of course, Delaware is no exception. Con artists are trying to take advantage of the millions of Americans who've received their COVID vaccines or boosters. They send fake surveys asking about their experience. They want their feedback. And these emails and texts look very legitimate, and they may even include the logos of the vaccine manufacturers. But keep in mind, what they're really looking for is your sensitive personal information. And so how can you tell if this is a scam? Some of the things to keep in mind, there's 3 points that might help you. First, they offer a prize for participating. Second, the message says you need to apply right away. And third, if you do engage with the survey, you're asked to provide a credit card or other payment information or even your Medicare number. And so this is kind of some key markers that this might be something you want to think twice about answering, and maybe just see if you can call the person back. There's also some clergy scams we've heard about through our Fraud Watch Network hotline. People making phone calls posing as a priest, a pastor, or some other kind of clergy member, calling victims to request money to help people affected by the pandemic. They play on your heartstrings by claiming those in need are hungry, they need food, they can't afford their medicine, they lost their home, they need housing. And of course, keep in mind it's tax time, right? But it's also time for IRS imposters as well. We still hear all the time about people calling on the phone or sending emails to people claiming they are an IRS or a Treasury Department agent and demanding payment on back taxes that you owe the IRS. They often threaten prison or late fees. So if you get a call like this, the best thing to do is really be wary of giving out any personal information if you get one of these calls or emails. Also, maybe just hang up or take the time to check on your IRS status by calling the agency directly. And you can do this ahead of time, before you even get a call like that. You should really try to avoid feeling afraid or trying to act on impulse. So the last thing I just wanted to give you a tip that keep in mind that stress can lead to scams. Pandemic and COVID stress has worn all of us down and made, it can really make you more vulnerable to scams. The holidays were upon us not too long ago, and that can be stressful for some people. And so these two things combined, really, we saw a spike in some scams that happened, and the energy you expend feeling stressed or anxious can make it harder to think clearly when you're confronted with a scam or one of these situations like these fake vaccine surveys or a fake clergy calling you. And so stress can lead to scams, and that's something to keep in mind. So thank you for giving me the chance to share some of these tips.
Thank you, Kim. And that was a lot of really helpful, I think, great information. I appreciate it. I might have a question or two for you at the end, but first I want to turn it over to Matt at the Social Security Administration. Matt?
Yes, thank you, Ryan. Thank you for the time and the opportunity to speak up this very important topic. I want to spend my time focusing on the two main types of Social Security-related scams that we are presently aware of. First and foremost, there has been an ongoing gift card scam involving Social Security imposters or impersonators dating back to at least the fall of 2018. Although there have been some changes to the messaging over time, at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same message, and that is you'll get a call, there'll be a claim that there's something wrong or illegal occurring on your Social Security account, that if you don't call back, that there will be legal action taken against you, or sometimes the words arrest will be made. People get scared, obviously, when they hear from supposedly the government saying there is something wrong happening with their account and they face legal consequences. Some people do call back. When they get a hold of one of these scammers, the scammer will ask a few verification questions like what's your name, what's the last four of your social, etc. But again, what they're really after is your money. So they'll say there's a fee you have to pay to make all this go away, essentially. Go down to the store, buy gift cards in this denomination. And unfortunately, when you do that, when you go to the store, buy the card, and call the scammer back with the gift card information, they can then drain that money, drain the balance off the card electronically. And once that money is gone, it's gone. It's looked at as cash. So most likely, well, I can tell you for certain, Social Security will not assist you in getting a refund of that money. The retailer probably will not do so either, and neither will the gift card provider. So the best way to protect yourself is just be aware of the fact that, one, while Social Security does make plenty of legitimate phone calls, usually ones that you initiate for an appointment to file for benefits or perhaps to assist you with another matter, if you get a call out of the blue, so to speak, and the person is claiming that there is illegal activity occurring on your account, that legal action will be taken against you if you fail to return the call, and or if they're requesting payment by gift card, it is always a scam, because Social Security employees never call and threaten legal action, and gift cards are not a means by which of repaying Social Security overpaid funds. That's credit card or check. So with that being said, if you get one of these calls, hang up on them. If you get a voicemail from them, ignore it. That's really what the bottom line is. And even in a situation where you believe the person calling you is a legitimate Social Security employee, if you're not 100% certain and they're asking you to disclose your Social Security number, for instance, you always have the right to call your local office and ask for an employee there to check our directory and see whether that individual is actually an employee of the Social Security Administration. I want to let you know that through self-reporting alone, we know that at least $50 million has been lost in this scam. That's almost certainly an underreported figure. It would not be surprising if the losses are now in the 9 figures. And this is only the Social Security gift card scam. It's one of many gift card scams out there. The other less common scenario that you may find is someone attempting to create what is called a My Social Security account on our website in your name. So very briefly, this is a portal through which during your career you can keep track of your earnings and your benefit estimates, And in retirement or while collecting any form of Social Security, you can change your address, telephone number, direct deposit, get proof of your benefit verification, et cetera, et cetera. So again, very valuable resource, but if it falls into the wrong hands, there can be some major complications, especially if you're collecting Social Security. Unlike the gift card scam, this scam is usually perpetrated by someone that you know, could be an ex-spouse, ex-boyfriend or girlfriend. Sadly, sometimes it's a family member like a child or grandchild or niece or nephew who knows enough about your past to create that account in your name. If that happens and you're collecting Social Security, most likely the first thing the scammer is going to try to do is redirect your check. So what can you do to protect yourself from this type of scam? Very simple. Either one, establish the account yourself, because once you do so, no one else can establish the account in your name. They'll get an error message when attempting to do so. Or if you don't want the account or you don't want the account yet, call Social Security. Any employee employed by our agency can put a block on your electronic access. That block will ensure that no one, including yourself while the block is on, can create that account. So Ryan, thanks again for the time.
No, thank you, Matt. And I just need to echo what you said about the gift card scams and their prevalence. We see a lot of gift card scams ourselves at the Delaware Department of Justice that are reported to us. And I think a good rule to keep in mind is if someone calls you up or contacts you online and is asking you to pay for something with gift cards, it's a scam. And do not pay with gift cards. That said, John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Ryan. And thanks everybody for tuning in for Consumer Protection Week to learn about these important scams that are being shared here today. So Better Business Bureau is an international nonprofit, and we get a lot of reports from people that are checking out companies or reporting bad experiences about marketplace behavior. One of the major problems we're seeing, especially here in Delaware, is online purchase scam. Now, online purchase scam could include things like getting a product that's not exactly what you ordered, something that looks nothing like the picture, wrong color, damaged, broken, etc. But overwhelmingly, the lion's share of these scams, the gold standard, if you will, for the scammers, it's to send you nothing. It's to take your money and send you nothing. And these problems, these scams have been around since well before the pandemic, although they absolutely have been exacerbated by so many more people being forced to become so much more comfortable with buying things online. And I'm here to tell you that these scams aren't going anywhere. They're going to be with us for the foreseeable future. So the idea that these scammers have is the length of time they can hold your credit card. That's the advantage. The more personal information they can get from you, the longer their sites can stay active, the more money they can make. These are almost always financially motivated crimes. And what a lot of people don't realize is how hands-on these scammers are. I mean, it's very, very important to them that you believe they are real. And so once your product hasn't arrived, which, depending on the shipping method you selected, could be 3 days, 5 days, 7 to 10 days, you probably wonder where the product is. So you contact them. They contact you back because they want you to know, oh, there's been a shipping problem. Oh, there was just some delays getting it to you. They had a problem at the factory. That's all it was. They are going to do everything they can to convince you that the delay is totally okay, totally normal. And oh, by the way, we'll give you a discount. That's what we'll do. We'll give you a 10% refund, but not until the product is shipped. So they're doing everything they can to keep you on the line because that leaves their site active longer. If this thing were reported as a scam right away, the site would get taken down. The scammers would have to start from scratch. So the attempt they're making is to make a very legitimate looking website and to try to keep it out. Just string it along, as long as you're willing to go along with it. So we do a lot of research at BBB looking at the reasons that people are buying from these scam websites, which admittedly look very good. And what we found is the top reasons, the number one reason, it's sales price. You're finding something that is a significant discount over other websites where you've seen it. Unfortunately, that's got to be a red flag these days. There is no reason why there shouldn't be a competitive market for some of these products. And so something that looks too good to be true, probably is. So that should be a red flag. The other top reason we see is website pictures. Listen, scammers don't have to obey copyright law, so they can steal any sort of art, any sort of imagery they want. They can put up pictures of some fantastic products and promise you they will deliver them to you for a fraction of the cost of these designer and brand name goods. But alas, they send you nothing. And then another thing, the third of the top reasons why people buy from these sites, reviews. Reviews, online reviews are king. And when people look at that, there's a herd mentality. They say, oh, 1,000 people said these guys did great. But unfortunately, the internet is full of lies. And online reviews are like the Wild West. In a lot of places, you can say whatever you want, say it anonymously, and it stays there forever. And scammers understand the dollar value difference that makes to make you believe that a lot of other people have had great experiences. So in addition to losing money, there is a very real component to being a victim of fraud and scam, and these online purchase scams are certainly one of them, where people are losing time as well. You know, if you're trying to follow up to figure out where your product is, or if you're trying to be hands-on with emailing them or calling the business or waiting on hold to try to get an update, that's your time you're losing. And there's a lot of research out there that's showing that there's also a confidence issue. You know, people that find out that they've been ripped off, they feel foolish. It's an emotional toll that it takes on people, more than just people saying, oh, well, I lost some money and moving on. Interesting statistics. Overwhelmingly, people find these links to the bad sites, advertisements for them on social media. Facebook, overwhelmingly, especially for people that aren't in the market for a product, they'll be lured in by a very, very tempting advertisement. But for people that aren't searching, Google, right? Scammers know how to leverage SEO. They know how to get their ads well positioned in any Google search you might be doing. So you've got to be careful about those sort of paid ads. But the good news is you can do research. You can investigate on sites like Better Business Bureau. You can Google the name of the website plus the word scam and see what pops up. Don't take those reviews as gospel, and understand that setting up those fake websites is easy. The better educated and aware you are, the more likely you won't be a victim. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you, John, and thank you, everyone. That was really informative. That was a lot of information thrown at us, and so I appreciate that. John, I want to follow up, and I think we've got time for a question or two. Are there any particular products or sort of businesses that seem particularly popular for online purchase scammers these days?
Yeah, great question. Pets, surprisingly pets. I mean, certainly you'll see things like consumer goods, electronics, et cetera. But pets are a very big ticket item. A lot of people are comfortable with hiring or paying a breeder to get a specialty sort of animal. And it's not unusual in that industry to have the animal shipped to you, or for you to come pick up the animal out of state sometimes. So the scammers know that, and they'll show these fantastic videos of, golden doodles or Russian blue kittens, or all sorts of animals. And, they want you to, absolutely, just like Kim said, I mean, the scammers know what they're doing psychologically to sort of get you invested. And then they ask you to pay with Venmo, with Zelle, gift cards sometimes, because that is untraceable or very easy to sort of cover their tracks. But yeah, pets are surprising. I saw a report from a consumer in Middletown just last week, $1,500 she lost. And again, she thought that it was a safe transaction because she was doing it through Zelle. But that money, once you lose it, you're not going to get it back. So you've got to be careful with anybody you're doing business with for any product. But yeah, the auto parts, electronics, and pets are three real big ones.
Interesting and concerning, but appreciate that. Kim, I mentioned having a question for you earlier. Do you have any advice on how to distinguish what would be a legitimate request from a charity with a scam, like you mentioned?
Sure. Well, around the holidays, a lot of these charities, legitimate charities, make phone calls to try to meet their year-end quota and whatnot. And really, most of the time, it's a charity that you've given to before or that you've heard of. But if a fake charity calls you, well, of course, you don't know it's a fake charity right away. I would say ask questions to the person on the phone. Who's your CEO? Who's your executive director? What percentage of this donation goes to the charity? And, see what their reaction is. You can kind of tell if it's a scam if they tell you need to make your gift right away, or try to pressure you into giving money. If they try to take your credit card right away over the phone, that should just raise a red flag in your mind. And what I would say is get the name of the charity, tell them you'll call them back, and maybe do some Google research on that charity. And one of the best things I think we can tell all of ourselves when we're in these situations, don't act on impulse. Try not to be too impulsive and just keep a cool head. Try not to let these con artists play on your emotions or sort of put you under the ether, so to speak. That's really a tool that they use to to just try to get you to act on impulse. And we've seen it all the time through our helpline, and I think that more people are becoming savvy to that. Hopefully.
Good to hear. Yes, hopefully. Unfortunately, I think we are about out of time, but I want to thank everyone for joining us online, those that are watching, those that tune in, but special thank you to you three, Jon, Matt, and Kim, for your time today and for getting the word out.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
My pleasure. Thank you. Take care.